Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Game Changer Mentality Podcast. I am your host, Rodney Flowers, best-selling author, keynote speaker, and resilience trainer. And as always, I'm excited for another episode. I'm excited for you to be here with me again today. Thank you for joining me. For those that have been following me, my heart goes out to you. I'm so blessed to have you guys. So blessed that you are willing to follow me, and I'm truly hoping that you're getting something out of this. And if you're new, if this is your first time joining us, welcome. And boy, do we have a treat here for you today. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I have a young lady here with me today from Australia, and she's a very, very, very good friend of mine. I met this young lady years ago, fell in love with her, and she's just been such a good friend, and she's awesome. Her boyfriend is awesome. They're just really good people. You know how when you meet really good people, it feels so good, and you can tell that they're genuine, they're full of love, and they love making a difference in the world. They are truly game changers, and she's here with me today. She's the founder and owner of Blue Chip Minds, right? She's a game changer. I told you she's a game changer. Blue Chip Minds is a company that helps organizations be their best. She's a coach. She does one-on-one training. She does corporate speaking. She runs workshops. She's changing the game in her life and in the lives of others. And she's here to share with us today what it is that she does and how her company does just that. So I'm going to allow her to do that once she comes online. But I just want you to get ready for her because she's a wealth of knowledge and she has a heart for people. And you're really going to get something from this show today because this woman is full of information and she's so willing to give. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Georgia Ellis to the show. Hello, Georgia. How you doing?
Hey, Rodney, I'm so good, thank you. And I must thank you for calling me a young lady because I think I'm older than you. But that's hey, g'day everyone from down under. It's such a pleasure to be here. And as Rodney said, we met a number of years ago, and Rodney's has a really special place in my heart, and I think of him often. In fact, it's Rodney's voice on one of my mental rehearsals that I play in my workshops. So I get to hear Rodney's wonderful, creamy voice nearly every week when I run one of my workshops.
Oh, that is awesome. And it was such a pleasure to do that for you. And as you can see, I'm using my gift. I'm expressing and using what God has given me to give back to the world. But, it's not about me. It's about you. And so tell us about Blue Chip Minds. What is Blue Chip Minds all about?
Oh, okay. So Blue Chip Minds is my baby, actually. So it came to me in a moment of inspiration that I have a background in corporate. So I worked for 22 years in the corporate industry, actually in finance and banking. And I left to start my own coaching business, and I kept getting asked, can you come back and teach what you teach to individuals, to groups? And I actually said no a lot of the time because I really didn't want to go back into that environment. And then through a moment of inspiration, the name Blue Chip Minds came up, and I thought, well, maybe I should be doing something here. I do have the knowledge and the ability to speak their language and bring information to the world that isn't generally taught in corporate training programs. So my passion is to really build high levels of self-awareness for those working in a corporate environment so that they can change the game, not just personally, but change the game of corporate organizations as well, so that they start to give back a lot more than what they traditionally do. So Blue Chip Minds has a corporate aspect where I help organizations, but my passion is working one-on-one with people or in smaller groups as well. I take people through programs to really help them understand, what are your blocks? What are the things that are holding you back from moving forward, and giving people the tips and the tools and the techniques and the understanding of the science behind a lot of what it is that I teach. So I'm, totally passionate about it, love it, jump out of bed every day to be able to get out there and help people.
Wow, and I'm glad that you do that. Thank you for the work that you do. We need more people like that because, people are struggling. They're dealing with all kinds of things, and they don't always know how to get over it. You brought up a particular term that I'm passionate about, which is self-awareness, and then you talked about the science of self-awareness, the science of overcoming. So can you dive a little deeper into that and let the audience know what you mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it was really challenging because a lot of the information that I had, I picked up through esoterical means. So it was a lot of philosophy, and I knew that it worked, and I knew that it worked in my life because I was getting results by applying these techniques and the information I was getting. However, if I was to go and teach this, people are very left-brained in a corporate organization, and they wanted to know well, prove it to me. How does this work? So I spent a lot of time trying to prove it scientifically, as in either researching myself or finding people who were already doing it, or finding the mechanisms within science that could back up what I was teaching. So an example, Rodney, would be, so our ability to notice our thoughts is one of our greatest gifts. And this is called metacognition. There's a scientific term for it. So people sort of think, we constantly think thoughts every day, and those thoughts end up being our reality at some point. Now, here's the point of power. If you use metacognition, if you can hit the pause button and observe your thoughts and change them in that second, you're now starting to rewrite your future. So that's science. That's
Wow.
neuroscience and quantum physics coming together, and it's all to do with self-awareness.
Wow. I mean, that's like creativity. That's like the essence of being a creative being, if you will. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's exactly what it seems like to me, because we're creative beings. And what you're saying is, your thoughts create things. Your thoughts create your future. And you're saying, if you're aware of what you're thinking, if you're unhappy with your life, you're unhappy with the results that you've experienced, you're saying become aware of what you think and you can change it. Is that
absolutely? Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just, so awareness is the first step. So you could be thinking negative thoughts and be aware of it and not do anything. Okay, so awareness is step one. I'm now aware that I'm thinking negatively. I'm now aware that I'm being self-critical. I'm now aware that I'm judging people. So that awareness does nothing. It's just awareness. So then with that awareness, what do you do? And the things that you do is you learn to change the thoughts. And again, we're going to draw on a universal law, which is a scientific law. We then draw on the law of opposites, or the law of polarity. We draw on that law to then go, okay, if I'm thinking one thing that's not positive, it's a negative thought, by law, because everything has an opposite. I can't be inside the room that I'm in right now if there wasn't an outside. Mm-hmm. We can't have an up without a down, okay? So if everything has an opposite and I'm thinking a negative thought, the action I can take is to go and find the good, go and find the positive in that negative thought. It's there. I just haven't been focusing on it. So that's where we're bringing science into change. We're bringing science into self-awareness. We're bringing science into changing the game and changing how we operate in this world. And it works.
So I just want to get clear on what you're saying, because I don't think I've quite heard it that way. Because you're saying, even if you're thinking a negative thought, by way of law of polarity, which is a universal law, there's something good about that thought.
No, what I'm saying is that what you're doing is, by law, there has to be an opposite to that thought, and you're not focusing on it. So if I'm thinking, for instance, everybody out there are terrible to me. Everybody out there, there's no opportunities in the world. If I'm starting to think these thoughts, well, if I keep thinking that, I'm sending signals to a part of my brain, and that's going to filter out everything else that are opportunities. So what happens is there's an opposite to no opportunities. Rodney, what's the opposite to no opportunities?
Opportunity.
Yeah. So if you start thinking to yourself, there are opportunities out there. There are opportunities. That's the opposite. When you think that, there's a part, I'm going to get a little bit scientific here. There's a part in your brain called the reticular activating system. And what this does, it filters things out for us. And what it will do now that you're focusing more often and telling yourself there are opportunities, your brain is now going to go and find and notice those opportunities for you.
So you actually open yourself up by changing the thought to the opportunity. And this could be with love, this could be with finances, this could be with your physical appearance, this could be with anything, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely, with any part of your life. And I see people making changes just, or getting amazing results just by changing one thing. Like I had one client who came to me, and all she did, like she had no time. She was a single lady at the time. She was she was working in a hospital as a director and had no time for anything. She had no time for exercise. She didn't have time to stop and fill up her car with petrol. She just had no time. And I said, is that working for you? Is that belief? Is that thought that you have no time? Does that help you? And she said, no. And I said, well, what's the opposite? And she said, well, the opposite would be that I have time. And I said, even though it feels like you don't have time, if you start telling yourself that, you're giving a command to a part of your brain that's going to actually open up and find time for you. Within 2 weeks, this lady had more time to study because she was doing her MBA. She now felt really relaxed and could fill up for petrol. She'd started exercising again and started socializing with her friends. And she said, all I did was change one belief, one thought, and now I have more time in my life. And she said the thing was, all that happened was my brain gave me an idea to chunk things down into 20-minute increments.
Wow. Oh, you love that.
Yeah. But before that, she was too busy not having time. But as soon as she told herself, I do have time, the idea came through. She went into that moment of insight.
So what do you say to individuals that may not feel that their thoughts are creating the results that they don't want in their life? Because I gotta feel like the audience, or maybe some people listening to this, and they may say, well, I just have a crappy life. My parents are, they didn't raise me properly, or they didn't set me up like some of these other people are set up, or, I have 3 kids and I don't have a whole lot of money, blah, blah. It's not my thoughts. It's my circumstance. If I didn't have this circumstance, I could do whatever I wanted to do. I can live better. I'll feel better. What do you say to that?
Well, first of all, I say to what I would say, and I'm going to be a little bit harsh here, is to stop being the victim. Because while you're saying that, it's the circumstances around me, that's blame. You're not actually taking on responsibility to have a look at for the opportunities. If you are a single parent with 3 kids and you feel like there's no opportunity, if you are thinking and keep saying that to yourself, that's you be playing the victim role. You're not going to find the opportunities to get you out of those circumstances. And sometimes the truth is hard to hear, but all the time we're creating, whether we know it or not. But I think it's around having that understanding that, yes, life does deal us good things and bad things. And it's going to be how you as an individual look at those circumstances and how you find the gold, the nugget of gold in them, and what you do with those circumstances. Because you can actually make the changes. You can change your life. And if you are caught in a cycle of thinking that there are no opportunities, or that, I don't have the ability to do the things that I want to do, I really encourage you to stop and just think about, well, what can I do? Maybe start changing some of your thoughts. Start looking for the opposites.
And so, have you used this particular strategy, this philosophy in your own life? Have you had some, circumstances and situation that life has dealt to you, and you were able to apply exactly what you're talking about today to that situation and change
Yeah,
it?
absolutely. I've had numerous ones, but I can share the very first one if you like, Rodney.
Sure.
So the very first moment for me was I was 29 at the time, and my life, I knew nothing about what I now know. And I was just, doing a normal job. My husband at the time, we had a business together. I was working part-time in a bank to try and bring more money in. We didn't have a lot of money. We had a startup business. So we couldn't even afford to have takeaway for dinner. Like I was working 2 jobs, working really hard, stressful business with the business we had. And one night, my husband came home and said to me, I think we should separate. And that came as a shock to me because we were building a business together. Yes, it was very stressful. We'd been trying to have children together and that wasn't happening either. So life for me was pretty rotten. Like there was no money. I wanted to be a mum. There was no children. And then my husband comes home and says he thinks we should separate. And in fact, he was having an affair at the time, and which I didn't know. So you think of that. Here I am, a 29-year-old. All of a sudden, my life's been turned upside down. And I didn't know any of what I knew today. And it actually took me a couple of months. I actually went down into the depths of despair. I lost a lot of weight. I was very depressed. I thought my world was over. And just by luck, I think it was, just by chance, my older sister invited me to come to a seminar. Now, before that, I had done no personal development. All I'd ever done was study at school. I'd done nothing else. And I went to this seminar, and it was actually a seminar run by Bob Proctor. So Rodney and I know Bob Proctor because we actually met at one of his events. So I went to this seminar and I sat down and my mind was blown. All of a sudden I realized that I no longer needed to be a victim. I no longer had to live this life, to take these results that I had and claim them as my own. I had the ability within me to make changes. And from what I learnt over those 3 days, I started to apply. And those things, Rodney, were simple things like what you're thinking. Your thinking creates your reality. So I went from being somebody whose husband had come home and left them. I was not earning a lot of money. I really probably didn't have the best job either. And I couldn't, no family. All my dreams had been shattered. Within 12 months, that had all changed, except for the child piece. I had a new job. I moved to a country town. I had a great new circle of friends, and life just started to take off, and I continued to apply and continue to learn. So for me, the pivotal point, which would probably be something for your listeners as well, was investing in myself. It really was investing in getting more knowledge, because I thought when I left school, that was it. I thought when I left school, I didn't need to read any more books. And in fact, up to age 29, I'd never read a book outside of school. I did nothing. And if you look in my office now, there are books everywhere. I've always got books. So I found that it was to be able to open the lid, take the lid off myself and start to see all of these limiting beliefs that I had that were holding me back. And I then gradually started to change them. I started to change them one by one. And as I was changing those beliefs, my life changed.
And so for the listeners, I mean, what would you recommend as the first step? I mean, you went to the seminars and you learned some information, and I'm assuming it's the same type of information that you've been sharing with us about changing your thoughts and things like that. And I'm sure, like, over time, you teach this stuff. So now you're a professional at this information, applying this information so much that you teach people how to do it. But for a person that's listening, I mean, what would you recommend is the first step to changing their mindset, to changing the game, to changing those thoughts?
Yeah, okay, really good question. So what I'd suggest that your listeners do is, first of all, write out, get really honest with yourself. Just write out, get a blank piece of paper and write out your current situation as it is, in all of its truth, in all of its blood and gore, whatever it is. Write it out. Just get really clear, get it out there, let it out. So it might be that I'm, a single mum and I'm not earning any money, or it could be that I'm in a terrible relationship. It could be anything. Just write out that situation. Then get another piece of paper and just start and write out what you'd really like it to be. What would be the opposite? So this is using the law of polarity here. Let's just imagine that the world that I really want was my truth, write that out. So you write that out in present tense. And then you start looking at the two and you realize you start to think and ask yourself, what have I been saying to myself on a regular basis to get my current results? What are some of the beliefs I have that are getting me those current results? Which one or two of them can I change that will start to change my mindset? That's one way of doing it. There is another way if there is something really specific in your life that you're wanting to change. So for instance, I like to use this example of money. So a lot of people I find nowadays tend to not have very good belief systems when it comes to money, and therefore they don't have a lot of abundance and wealth in their life. And what I do in some of my workshops and with some of my clients is we get them just to get a blank piece of paper. Again, you've got to do the work. If you want the life that you're dreaming of, you've got to do a little bit of work to get there. You can't just wish it. Okay, that's wishful thinking, doesn't work. So you get a blank piece of paper, put a circle in the middle of the paper and just write money in that circle. Then put your phone on timer for 2 minutes and write everything that comes up for you when you think about money. It could be, I've got that money's hard to come by. There's too much debt. I can't save. Or it might be, it changes my life. It gives me freedom. Whatever comes up in those 2 minutes, write it down. And you're going to have a mixture of good and bad, because not everything that we have, not all of our beliefs are negative. We always have some great beliefs in there. We do. None of us, there's not a human on this planet who is full to the tipping point of negative beliefs. So have that piece of paper. After the buzzer goes off on your phone, put your pen down and don't think about it anymore, and have a look at what you've written. Within what you've written, you'll find there'll be some negative beliefs that are holding you back when it comes to money, and there'll be some supporting beliefs which we want to keep. We don't want to change those ones. So what you do is you just circle or highlight the ones that are negative and just choose one, maybe two, and flip them around to something positive and start telling yourself that, even though it's not true right now, every day. And what you do, Rodney, when we do this is we're now using another neuroscience law. We're using the law of repetition. Okay, so the law of repetition states that any skill or thought or feeling or action that you repeat over and over and over again becomes fixed in the subconscious mind. And then you begin to take actions based on those thoughts. It becomes automatic. It becomes your new you.
It becomes part of your being.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're talking about a transformation, a complete transformation, little by little, one by one belief at a time. I love that. I mean, that is really sound advice, and it's very practical. I mean, this isn't hard to do. I mean, and I think that's sometimes the problem, because it's very simple. It's not complicated to do. A lot of people will feel that, oh, that's not going to work. I'm not going to do that, because it has to be a 4-year, curriculum that I have to go to, and I get a degree and walk across the stage and then, that's going to change my life. But what you're giving me is, I mean, it's true, but because we'll go do that, right? We'll go spend 4 years, $40,000 a year to go to college when, this simple exercise here can give you the results that you want way beyond what you could probably experience from going to college. Now, I'm not discrediting college by any means, so don't take it that way. But my point is that, a lot of times we won't do these simple things. Like we want to hear from people that are actually getting results. We want to hear from the millionaires, the athletes, the people that are making it happen. And when they give us these types of tools and strategies, we don't do it. We don't believe that it works. And I'm really just beating the drum on that because, I've done this exercise several times and I'm going to go do it again. It's been a while since I've done it. But I thank you for bringing it up because I'm going to go do that again because I want to see what am I thinking about money, about love, about my body, about my life, about my podcast, about my business, I'm going to go and look at that stuff again and tackle, right? I'm going to tackle any belief that is not congruent with where I want to be in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, awesome. And look, I teach this and I do it myself. Anything that I teach or coach people with, I have to have walked the path before myself, because I don't feel authentic or congruent with what I'm doing unless I do it. I can't just read something from a book and then teach it. I have to apply it first and get the results in my own life. So what I'm telling you here, I know it works. I do it. And as you said, Rodney, it's a simple exercise, a piece of paper, a circle in the middle. You put any topic in there. You can put relationships. You can put your business. You can put your health. You put anything in there and start to find what you've been telling yourself all of these years.
We've all, there's this, a thought about who we are as human beings, and a lot of us know that we're created in the likeness and characteristics of God. Okay. And to me, I don't know about you guys that are listening, but for me, when I hear this to me is the link between, being able to create the same way, or using that characteristic, that to me, that God-like characteristic, and create the way I was designed to create. I mean, that is the gift this is like the seriousness, the heaviness of this is truly a gift. And a lot of times we walk around and we don't realize how our thoughts are creating things, how our thoughts are driving our lives. And what you're explaining here is the God-like part of us, because we have imaginations, we have a mind. We are God's greatest creation, and no other thing on earth, as we know today, has this type of ability. A wasp can only be a wasp. A cow can only be a cow. A tree can only be a tree, right? But human beings, being human beings, can have a trajectory in their lives and use this. They use their minds. And this is how you use your mind to change the game in your life. A tree can't change anything about itself. It just be a tree. I mean, it can't. The leaves are going to fall off and come back on in the spring, and that's just what it is. But a human being can be going in one direction, and as a result of using these tools, and you know what, it happens whether or not you're conscious of it. I mean, wherever you are right now in your life, it is a result of what you're thinking. And if you want to change that, you have to change your thinking. And that is the power that you possess as a human being. It's not over for you. As long as you are alive, as long as you have the ability to think, and you can become aware. And I love that you brought up Bob Proctor, because he too has had an impact on my life, and becoming more aware. I mean, I never thought that I would be doing anything like this. I did, I wanted to walk again, yes, but I was walking when I met Bob. I had overcome the spinal cord injury, but now I'm like, no, I want to teach what I've learned, what I was doing, unconsciously. I didn't even know some of the strategies and things that he was teaching at that time were things that I had been doing for years, but I didn't know. I just wanted to walk. So I just visualized walking every day. I visualized being able to be independent every day, and it wasn't just a wish. It was really deliberately looking at myself walking with the mindset that it's going to happen one day, not just wishing on a star. It wasn't that type of thing. I know we wish we had $100,000, or we wish we had a new job. That's not the same thing. I'm saying visualizing it, and with a knowing and with a purpose that's going to happen. And you're taking action on it. I mean, you can want something but not take action on it, and then allowing the activities and the tasks to come to you. So you start thinking, oh, I should go do this. I should go try this. Let me do this. And you just start, finagling your way to your destination. It's a beautiful thing.
It is. And we don't really give ourselves enough credit for how powerful we are. I love that you said there, you know, that we're created in the image of God. Therefore, we are creators. So we get to create our world. And in fact, the world we're creating now, whether we like it or not, we've created that. The people out there that aren't getting the results they want, you have been playing a part in creating that. Now, Rodney, I have a question for you. I know I'm here as your guest, but I love your story. In your story, you're talking about that you would visualize yourself walking. So you were applying a lot of these things unconsciously. You didn't know that this was actually how you transform your life. My question is, when you're visualizing, were you just thinking and visualizing, or were you feeling what it would feel like to walk again?
Yes. You know, I was feeling the sand underneath my feet, right? I was feeling the movement of what it would feel like to move, what it would feel like to lift weights again, right? To do squats, if you will. You know, what it would feel like to put on a shirt.
Yeah.
What it would feel like to take off my shirt, you know what I mean? You know, I mean, it was
Absolutely.
it was the feeling of all of that. And then it was, sometimes I would visualize it without the feeling, and then I would do it with the feeling. Because see, the feeling part of it was deliberate because I had no sensation. I had no sensation in my body. And so I would visualize what it would feel like. I would have people touch my leg, right? And I'm looking at them, and I remember what it feels like what it felt like for someone to touch my leg. And then I would, as they're touching my leg, I would revisit that thought of what that feels like as they're touching my leg, you know? And so that, I really believe that is the difference between me being where I am right now and staying in that situation. And here's the deal. I still do that to this day.
Yeah.
I still do that.
Yeah. And the reason I asked you that question is that, and we've been talking a lot here about noticing your thoughts and then changing your thoughts. That's the first step. Then when you change your thoughts or change it to what you want, you can't just sit here and think, I've got $100,000 in my bank. I've got $100,000 in my bank, through repetition, and keep saying it over and over if you don't feel like you've got $100,000 in your bank. So imagine, what would it feel like to have $100,000 in your bank? What would it feel like to be having the success that it is that you want? What would it feel like to be having a healthy body, to be, you know, running a marathon, if that's what you want to do? You must attach a feeling to it, because if you don't attach a feeling, you're actually not changing the neural networks. You're not changing the part in your brain, in the subconscious mind, where that program resides. So the feeling is really, really important. It's the crucial part. Without it, you're not really doing the work. And it can be a little bit difficult to start with, because you think to yourself, well, I've never had $100,000. I don't know what it feels like to have that. So this is where you need to, as you said earlier, Rodney, you need to use your imagination to just imagine you did have that. How would you feel? You'd probably feel safe, secure. You'd probably feel happy. You'd probably feel abundant. You'd probably feel in awe that you've got that. So start, and you'd probably feel really grateful too, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, what you're bringing up is so critical. I mean, it's like, it's not so much, you know, when you're doing these exercises, it's very easy to say, okay, I see what I'm thinking and I want to change it. What do I have to do to get what I want? But it's not so much what you have to do to get what you want. It's more so, who do I have to become in order to have what I want, right? Because it's the person that you've been being that's producing the results that you're getting right now. In order to produce a different result, you have to become a different person, meaning a person that thinks this way, a person that acts this way, a person that is this way, right? And so whenever you become that person, you'll begin to experience the results that a person that's like that is supposed to experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to make another point here that's really important, because in the circles that I move in, some people talk a lot about you've just got to be. So imagine yourself being that person, or being. And then you hear other people going, you know, it's all about the hustle. It's all about the doing. Well, actually, it's both.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You've got to be, and then you've got to do. So you be the person. So you start feeling and embodying the person, your future self, and then you start taking action towards that with what you have and what you already know.
Yeah,
The
because
rest,
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
sorry, we've got a little time delay, haven't we? The rest will then turn up. The rest of the instructions, the rest of the plan will unfold. Just go with what you already know. And you'll always know the first 1 or 2 steps. Rodney?
Yeah, because I feel that I think you're so right, because sometimes we get caught up in the doing. And if you're not doing the right things, then you're still not going to get the result that you want. And it's all about, what does a person do that gets those types of results? And that's the key, is understanding, if I'm going to be this type of person, this is the type of stuff that I may have to do, like, working out every day, right? If you go look at a fit person, a truly fit person, what does a truly fit person do? Right. And if you want to be truly fit, then you have to be okay with doing the types of things that a truly fit person does. And oh, by the way, they're doing what they're doing because they think a certain way. And so a lot of times we'll try to just impose those activities on ourselves, and it doesn't work, because your mindset hasn't changed. Your thought process hasn't changed. And so you're trying to force it, and you can't force it. You have to change on the inside. You have to adopt those same types of thoughts and be okay with it. It has to become part of your being. And as it becomes part of your being, the doing is easy. It's just by nature, because of what's in your subconscious mind. I mean, would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. And a really great example of this, how this plays out in life, is you could be sitting here wishing that you had, as we said, we use $100,000 as our example. I'm going to go back to money for this. But if you look at people who have won the lotto, but they didn't have a lot of money to start with, they may have been on welfare, then they win the lotto. They win millions of dollars. Rodney, do you know what happens to those people after 3 years?
Yeah, they don't have any money. All the money is gone.
Yeah.
They're broke.
Why is that? Some of them win $40 million. How can $40 million disappear, we ask?
Because they're not $40 million people.
No, they didn't change the mindset first. And what happens is they've programmed their belief systems of that of a poor person or somebody without any money. So therefore their actions are not aligned to their beliefs. And therefore the money disappears. And you see this over and over and over again. So for somebody who thinks, oh, it'll be really easy to win lotto, to all my problems will be solved. Well, no, you've got to work on yourself first. You've got to do the heavy lifting on the inside. And that's through the repetition of creating a new program, undoing the thoughts and the beliefs that we've inherited from parents, teachers, preachers, you name it. It's a society in general. We take all these things on, and we, without questioning them, we believe them to be true, and we never ask ourselves, are these true? So that's one of the things, is just check your beliefs. And it might be, you may have a belief that's been handed down from generation to generation to generation that doesn't allow you to be fit and healthy, that doesn't allow you to be wealthy, that doesn't allow you to have loving relationships. You got to get that sucker and rip it out. It doesn't serve you anymore, no matter if it's come from the family or wherever it's come from. If it doesn't work for you, if it's not getting your results, you have the creative power to change that. And it's through repetition, and it's through attaching a feeling to what you do want, the opposite, and imagining that it's your truth today.
Yeah. I mean, something that you said I want to touch on is it's not serving you. And that's such a powerful statement. And for those of you that are listening, that's a powerful question you can ask yourself about the thought patterns, the things that you've been thinking. Ask yourself, how are they serving you? Because your thoughts should serve you. I mean, they create your life. So you want to make sure that the thoughts that you are thinking, that they serve you. And some of you may be thinking, well, I can't help that I think the way I think. I can't help that I am the way I am. And I want you to just stop, because, it's not your fault. I want you to get that right now. It is not your fault. We develop these thought patterns from kids, and we grow up and the things that have been poured into our subconscious mind, the things that we've been exposed to, all of those things have shaped the way we think. They've shaped the person that we are. And you know what? There's no point in having blame or looking at that as, there's no hope because of that situation. Just let that go. I really want you to just let that go, because the truth of the matter is you can reprogram yourself. You can change your thought patterns.
Yeah, and that's the one thing, that's your greatest power, is your ability to choose. It's your superpower, is choice. And your superpower is choice in the ability to be able to, as I said when we started, metacognition, your ability to notice your thoughts. That's the first step. Notice them. Then, as Rodney just said, ask yourself, does this serve me? And is it true 100% of the time? Because you might be telling yourself that, oh, there's no opportunities out there for me. And if you say that over and over and over again, but then if you ask yourself, does that serve me? We go, no. Is it true 100% of the times? And you think, well, actually, there have been some opportunities in my life. And you start to notice them. You go, well, actually, it's not true 100% of the time. So why do I have that belief? So then you change it. So it's really, that's the key, is the awareness, then changing it. You must use repetition. Okay, what you need to do is, there's a neural connection in your brain for each one of those beliefs. So what you want to do is rewire your brain to the new you. So repetition, doing it every morning and every night, is the key time, because your brain and your mind are naturally receptive to new information, where the inner critic doesn't start saying, no, you can't do that, or you can't be that. So they're the moments in time for you to take advantage of it. And, there's a whole conversation around that, and how I can show you how science works at these two important times of the day. As soon as you wake up and just before you fall asleep are the times when you want to be telling yourself these new affirmations for your life.
I may want to get you back on the show to talk about that in depth. I'm actually studying neuroscience right there, because what we're finding is that the brain and the mind is very plastic. And what that means is it's not fixed. A lot of people think that after a certain age, your mind is developed to the maximum capacity, and that is not true. You can actually continue to think and develop new thought patterns, new neurons, new connections in your brain. And, and all of this happens by way of the law of repetition. And so I may want to get you back on the show to talk about that. I'm actually writing a book about that right now, to come out later, maybe in the next year or so. But I mean, it's such a beautiful thing to realize that, we're not trapped by our thought patterns that we have right now. So Georgia, I mean, give the audience, a lot of people may be thinking, okay, I practice these exercises. How long does it take for this stuff to start working? I mean, like, people want immediate results. I mean, is this like a drive-through type of exercise? I place my order and then, I pick it up in a few seconds. So talk to us about that.
Okay, it's going to be different for everyone, because here's the thing. Your beliefs are going to have different neural connections in your brain, and they will have connections to other beliefs. So to undo some of them may take a little bit longer for one person than it does to the other. So there is no hard and fast rule. Now, I used to believe that it takes 21 days to change a habit or a belief. I couldn't find any proof of that. So I did find a study that was done, and this study mentioned how long it took a group of people to change their habits. And what they found was it takes anywhere between 18 and 254 days to change a habit. Now, that's just an action, a habit. For you to, and the average was 66 days. So if you're wanting to change something and you're only doing it for 3 days and go, this ain't working, you haven't done it. You've got to commit. You've got to want. You've really got to want what the end result enough to put in the work. Now, I did some work on myself, and it took me, I think, let me go back. It would have been about 5 to 6 months of reprogramming the subconscious. And I did that every day. I rewrote things every day, and I had things recorded that I listened to every day. So that was 6 months for me.
So is it Is the thing that you did so personal that you don't want to, you couldn't share? I mean, what was the actual habit that you were changing? I mean, is that something that you could share?
Yeah, I just was conscious of time. So what it was my self-image, what I believed about myself. So this is when I first started my business. Okay, so I thought, okay, I've been an employee for 22 years. I've got a whole belief system around being an employee. I don't have an entrepreneurial or a business mindset. I have to create it. So I wrote out in present tense my future self, and I rewrote that. It was about 4 pages long. I rewrote that every day for 3 months. And then for the following 3 months, I had recorded it on my iPhone and I listened to it every morning. Now, the good thing about this was 14 months later, I was living 80% of what I'd written.
Mm.
I wrote down that I wanted to have a global business where I was teaching my own programs around the world. At the time, I didn't have a training program created. I didn't have a global client. I wasn't even doing it. 14 months later, I was.
Wow. I love that. And, you know, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I did the work. It wasn't easy. So as I said, you know, you've got to want it. You've got to want the end result. As I said, 18 to 254 days, you've got to put in the effort.
I love that. And I feel like just to give you guys something, you know, if you want to test this out, an exercise that I know that you can do is, if whatever your dominant hand is, if you want to believe in this process, I'm going to give you an exercise where you do this exercise. You can commit to this. Like, there's nothing to lose here. It's going to take some work, but you will see it change. You will see it happen in your life. And once you know that you can change anything that you want to change. Okay. But do this right here. And chime in, Georgia, if you, because I think you know where I'm going with this. Whatever your dominant hand is, whatever you write with, you know, I want you to try to write with your non-dominant hand. And I want you to write a page of whatever. It can just be writing your name over and over. I want you to do it every day for 30, let's say 30 days, 30 to 60 days. I want you to write with your non-dominant hand every single day. Because we're talking about your paradigm. We're talking about using the law of repetition, changing your subconscious. Because a lot of us think, what's the first thing we think? I can't write with my non-dominant hand. That is such a lie. You haven't taught yourself how to write with your non-dominant hand. And that's just like with everything. We think, I can't have the money. I can't get the job. I can't get the promotion. You just haven't become the person that's ambidextrous. You haven't become the person that can write with your non-dominant hand. And it's going to take some work. It's going to take some effort to do it, but your brain can learn to write with your non-dominant hand. You do that, you'll see that this process works, and then you can, without a doubt, apply this to any other area of your life to produce the results that you want. And I guarantee you, if it doesn't work, you write me. You email me. I'll have you on the show, and we can talk about the fact that it didn't write. And I want you to be on the show and face me and tell me that it did not work for you. That's what we'll do if it doesn't work for you in 60 days. That I have that much faith and belief in this process that it will work for you. Your writing, you keep the pages, and I guarantee that in 60 days, your handwriting will be tremendously better, tremendously different than it was when you first started. I guarantee that. I guarantee it. Georgia, anything you want to say? Anything else you want to say, young lady?
I just want to say to your listeners that, you know what, regardless of what's going on in your life right now, you are worth what it is that you're seeking. You're worth the results that you want, and you're worth putting in the effort and doing the work that we've spoken about today. Even if it's just one belief that you're changing, put in the effort with that. You're worth it, and you really need to believe in yourself and move forward. Life's amazing, and if I can do it, if I can change my results and go from being a victim to a creator of an amazing life, so can you. Absolutely.
Beautiful. And how can people contact you if they wanted to connect with you, maybe have some coaching from you? Maybe there's someone who owns a corporation would like you to come speak to their employees. How can they get in contact with you?
Okay, so you can contact me through my website, which is bluechipminds.com. And you can also, if you're on social media, on Facebook, I have a group called Conscious Architects of Life. So you can ask to join that group, and yeah, you can reach out to me through there, and also on social media as well. Just Georgia Ellis, and send me a message and let me know that you're on Rodney's podcast, and I'll accept your friend request, and LinkedIn also. So thank you, Rodney.
Yeah, thank you, Georgia. It has been a pleasure having you on the show. You're such a lovely lady and you're so full of knowledge. You have really dropped quite a few nuggets on the show today. And I just want to thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your time and your knowledge with us here on the Game Changer Mentality Podcast. Thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure. And thank you for having me. Oh, it's been a joy.
Awesome. So there you have it, folks. Another episode of the Game Changer Mentality Podcast. I want to thank you all for listening, and remember that greatness is your birthright. Have a great one.